Greetings. It's an honor to be here. I would like to dedicate this talk to my good friend Christian and Claudia. They've made a tremendous effort to put this conference together. So thank you, Christian and Claudia. I've also had quite a number of experiences with Amanita muscaria as well as Pantherina, and at later times I definitely want to talk to Ralph and other people about that. But this talk is going to center on the psilocybin active species. And because there are literally over 200 species that have been described in the genus Psilocybe to date, of which we now know over 100 of them are psilocybin active, I can't possibly show all the species that I would love to show you in the course of 45 minutes. I will try to speak slowly. It is not my nature, nor was it Jonathan's nature, but he did a very good job at slowing down. So I'm going to progress immediately to the first slides. If we could have the lights down. This is a photograph that was given to me by Peter First, and it's pottery from southern Mexico that is approximately 500 years AD, and I think it symbolizes what we're all about. We're at a gathering celebrating the beauty and wonderment of mushrooms, as well as other plants. And I think that these gatherings have progressed through millennia because of our common interest. Now, to give you some description, this photograph has never been shown in public. This is me when I was 19 years of age. And this is my first attempt at growing Psilocybe cubensis. And there's my pressure cooker there. And you can imagine the response that I got from very straight mycologists when I would walk into their laboratories at universities and say, I'm interested in mushrooms. You know, they would immediately stereotype me as to my particular interest, and they were quite right. But the psilocybin mushrooms have been my gateway into a larger arena of mushroom species, some of which I know now deeply will have a pivotal impact on helping us survive into the next millennium. There is a quote, and I don't know who first said it. I wish I did. But it says, "The greatest achievement of science this century, the acknowledgement of our ignorance." And I feel that very deeply. I come before you, and I want to be very clear, I know almost nothing about mushrooms. The more I study them, the more I realize the depth of knowledge that is soon or yet to be discovered. And this is also true. It takes many minds and many people's experiences to bring knowledge together. And I think we've tapped into a body of knowledge heretofore unexplored, even to its minutest level. And I think we're entering into a new age of awareness that is a whole new frontier with fantastic possibilities. So in 1976, and I see this conference as a continuation of that, Jonathan Ott and a number of other individuals started the first conference on psychoactive mushrooms. And it was held in Washington State at a place called Miller-Sylvania State Park. Directly after that conference, myself and Dr. Gaston Guzman, Gary Menser, now deceased, Stephen Pollack, also now deceased, and Stephen was one who first described Psilocybe tamponensis. Myself and Dale Leslie went on a wild mushroom gathering experience that lasted well over 2 weeks. And we were gathering specimens for Dr. Gaston Guzman's monograph on the genus Psilocybe, and he is the world's expert on that genus. And in the course of those travels, literally every time that we stopped the car and opened the doors, we were finding Psilocybes everywhere. It wasn't like we were going after Psilocybes, Psilocybes were coming to us. And I see that again and again. Those of you who have been mushroomed, we are selected, I feel, by the mushrooms. We become communicators or vehicles of knowledge. We don't own this information, and I don't think that any of the speakers pretend that we even have any copyright to that knowledge. The mushrooms come to us. They impassion us. They excite us, and through that excitement and research, etc., we recommunicate larger and greater ideas than our own minds can create. So, my partner and I, Dusty, we live a few miles from here. We live at the base of the Olympic Peninsula, of the Olympic Peninsula, of of Washington State, which is in the far west coast region of North America. And we do a lot of this. Dusty is an incredible hiker, and oftentimes I'm trailing, 50 to 100 feet behind her, trying to catch up. And we go into the old growth forest in search of new taxa, in search of new mushroom species. And we see that the old growth forests are one of the few places left on the planet where the fungal genome is relatively undisturbed. And the ecological niches that are shrinking because of overpopulation, pollution, et cetera, we're losing an enormous number of potential candidates that have significant medicinal properties, as well as those that are psilocybin active. So this is where we live. We live right here in this facility. We have a 17-acre farm, and this is on Skookum Inlet, and it's at the very southern reaches of the Puget Sound. And this is our research facility, and it's 17 acres, 400 feet of waterfront, and we have two state-of-the-art laboratories in vitro, wherein we do in vitro propagation. We have 3 growing rooms where we test different strains, etc. Now, in 1980, I started a business called Fungi Perfecti, and my business today, I'm sure, would be very affluent. I'd be a very wealthy person had I chosen to sell spore prints of psilocybin mushrooms. I chose not to. The situation in the United States is quite different than here. And the authorities there watch very carefully to see if you are involved in selling, for instance, spores and then selling equipment for the cultivation of those into what the United States considers an illegal substance. Many businesses in the United States, unfortunately, have been busted by the DEA, etc. Specifically, Tom Alexander, who was the editor and founder of Synsimia Tips. He is a classic example. And so we chose not to sell psilocybin spore prints. And in the United States, I am self-censored. No one's told me to be quiet about the subject. Books are protected by our Constitution. We have so-called freedom of speech, but it's looked upon very critically when it comes to drugs. And since the psilocybin active mushrooms are considered, drug-producing organisms, we have to be very careful. Now, it may well be that I could have gotten away with that, and I would be a wealthy person today. But it was far better for me to continue on my path and to write books and let others do that, because I'm in this for life, and I can't do what I do best behind prison bars. So I chose to direct myself very carefully. And so there's people who have dealt with this. I apologize to you right now if you've asked us questions about psilocybin mushrooms over the internet, etc., and you've gotten this reply. I'm sorry, we do not discuss the cultivation of psilocybin mushrooms. Now, don't be offended, because all the information is in my books, and should you want information on the cultivation of psilocybe cyanescens on wood chips outdoors, there are not only chapters of that in my books, but there's also other species that are edible and gourmet mushrooms, and the techniques are virtually the same. All you do is substitute one species for that description or technique, and you can quickly come to the same conclusion. So.